Alright guys, as one of my favorite YouTubers, Andrew Camerata, would say, the project at hand is an EasyGo ST480 that won't run. Not exactly sure what's going on with it, but let's tear into it and find out. Charged the battery last night and it's still dead. Pretty sure it's bad. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to check that out, but I think I'm going to get a new battery for it. This battery's been acting up for a long time. I'm going to test it and see if it's any good, but I don't think it is, so I'm going to start by pulling that out. So I just checked for spark. I've got spark on both cylinders. This is a Vanguard 16 horsepower V-twin. And I had plugs for this and I just changed them out. So it's got brand new plugs. I've got spark. So I know it's not a spark issue. I just took the fuel filter out and testing this fuel pump, it seems to be working. When I pulled this hose off and had the battery still on, I was getting steady fuel pumping out of the fuel pump, so I don't think that's the issue. I've read some of these have fuel shutoff solenoids on them. I don't think mine does. I don't know where it would be if I did. I don't see anything. So I'm gonna try, for one, I looked down in this fuel tank. It is nasty. That's all, if I can get that glare off, that's all dirt down there below the fuel float sending unit. So I think what I'm going to do is, this shroud needs to come off. There's 3 rivets in it. I'm going to drill those out, pop that little shroud off, pull the tank out, drain it, rinse it out real good, and then we'll go from there. Alright, fuel tank's out. Alright, so I got the jumper pack hooked up to it. Still charging the battery. But I got this cup of gas that I know is good, so I'm going to try that. I'm going to stick the fuel pickup down into it and then watch that fuel pump. Make sure we're still getting gas through it. Oh yeah. Squirting like crazy, so I'm gonna hook the hose back up to the carb and we'll see if it fires now. I usually gotta choke it. Alright. Still not firing. Now the weird thing is, if I put a little gas in the carburetor, just pour it in, it will fire. So there must be an issue with the carburetor. Fuel pump's getting fuel to the carb. I got spark. Yeah, I was hoping maybe it was bad gas, but it does not appear to be the case. So let's see what we can figure out about that carburetor. So I just had everything hooked up. Hit the gas. This fuel filter, I stuck that in there just so I could see what the fuel is doing. And this fuel filter was bone dry until I disconnected it from the carb. It hit the gas again and then it started filling up. So there's an obstruction or something in that carburetor. I'm going to tear the top off. It's 4 little screws. I already took the air box off. That was 4 bolts. That was easy. You just pop the top cover off and you'll see those 4 bolts. So there's your float, that brown piece there. Oh, it's not that dirty. I want to pull that float out. Alright, I'm going to take some air. I'm going to blow through that. See if anything's coming out. That's the only thing I can think is this is somehow plugged up. Let's see what happens. I don't know. Blew the needle jet out of there. So I think I figured out what happened. This float, when I put it back together last night and when I blew it out, this little needle jet, it's got a little rubber plunger on the end, that's supposed to shut your fuel off. That's supposed to keep fuel from entering the carb when it gets full. Well, when I took this float out, that needle jet had stayed in there. When I blew through the inlet for the fuel line hose, this shot out. That tells me, obviously, when I took that out, that was not connected in that little groove there like it's supposed to be. So if I had if this was in there sitting, this float would actually sit like this. It would pull that needle jet up out of its little seat and allow fuel into the motor. I think that's why I couldn't get fuel in through that inlet when I was trying earlier. So I'm going to pop this back in. Like that. And then I'm going to pop this cover back on. put the 4 screws in, and then we'll give it a shot. Alright, so that filter's already kind of filling up with fuel, so I'm hopeful she's going to run here. Let's see what happens. A little smoky. I think she's got a little bit more fuel than it needs, but that's as much as it's ran in the past 2 months. I've just let it sit during deer season, so that's pretty cool. So I'm glad I took a break last night. That needle jet, I didn't even think about that having to be an actual integral part of the float, so that when that float comes up on this side, that needle jet goes down and seats on that side, shutting off fuel to the motor. I would have sat out here all night last night and not thought about that, so sometimes you just got to take a break on this stuff. I'm going to throw everything back together. I'm going to give that tank a good cleaning out, put some fresh gas in it, bolt it back in. Over here, I was noticing, I'm going to get a new battery because that battery was charging overnight and it didn't do anything. Tester says it's bad, so I need to clean this up a little bit. Just corroded from battery acid and all that stuff over the years. So I'm going to clean that up, give it a coat of paint. I'm going to do a new ground wire because I see this is pretty frayed down here, or at least crimp a new end on it. Probably just crimp a new end on both ends is what I'll do. Maybe pull this bolt out on the negative terminal, put a new end on there, a new bolt. Just make sure it's got a good ground. Clean the positive terminal up. That doesn't look real bad. And then I think I'm gonna finish up this front basket for it. I can get it out of here. So this was my first weld project after I got the welder, and I never finished it because I just got busy with other stuff. But this mounts over the front of the cart here. Those 2 legs, one on each side, come up and mount right here. Pull those bolts out, and then it actually comes in these studs here. Sit here, so your basket's up over here. You can put a chainsaw in that or whatever you want. And then I might even add a front winch to it. I've got an old winch somewhere around here that I'd like to add to the cart, so if I can find that. I don't know. It's like a 3,500 pound winch. I know I've got it somewhere, but so let's do that stuff. Oh, and last time I rode it, I bent this tie rod, but I think I can straighten that out. I don't think I need to buy a whole new tie rod, at least at this point. I'm sure it'll be weaker than it was, but should last till I hit something else significant. Alright, let's do that. Alright, I think the only thing left here is to put some fuel in it. Pick up all my tools. I gotta throw the battery back in it. and put that ground wire back on, but that'll only take a minute. Might just ratchet strap the battery back in for now and see how it works. I'm going to take a wire brush in the inside of these terminals and clean those out real quick. So I'll do that and be right back. Alright, so the battery that I bought yesterday was not the right size, so I'm going to return that, but I wanted to take it for a test ride. So I threw the jumper box in here. Oops, almost dropped it. I didn't fix the tie rod yet. I obviously didn't do the winch or the basket I talked about yet. I'm going to make a separate video on those three things. But let's go for a ride and make sure this thing even runs before I put all the time and effort into it. So it actually, so prior to this, it always ran pretty decent, but you always had to pull the choke out a little bit just to get started and to kind of get it to kick over, and then it'd be fine after that. You'd never need the choke while you were running it, but from a dead stop, you'd almost always have to choke it just a little bit. So I noticed don't need to do that anymore. So I'm guessing when I had the carb apart and cleaned it all out, that made a big difference. I just realized I didn't put any fuel in this thing. I'm gonna get stranded, I bet. I don't even know what it's running on. It's not anymore. Oh shit. Alright, let's go get some gas.